Hey guys, welcome back to another League of Legends video, and we're doing another live commentary one because we got the new Season 2, or second split of Season 15, because they're splitting into like 3 parts. So it's finally coming because we're done with the first third of the year, and we're switching from Noxus to Ionia. Really quickly, before we continue, if you hear any like construction noises going on in the background, there's like a jackhammer like down the street that's been like pop, 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 all over for like the past 3 weeks or something like that. It's been really annoying, but I have to record this now because it's topical and I want to work on it right away. So we're going to be going through this. I'm going to be reviewing my thoughts on the Spirit Blossom dev update, or like the new season theme, as well as mostly focusing on the gameplay and things like that. But if there's an interest in looking into like the new Brawl game mode, then we can look into that. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and take a look at the gameplay changes, because I had a lot to say about Season 15 so far. Just to kind of like preface my thoughts on how Season 15 went so far, the first split, it's been engaging, but not in a very constructive way. I would definitely say with full confidence that this is the most interactive season we had so far, in the sense that like everyone's doing something, there's no like resident sleeper games. But at the same time, we've run into an issue where there's too much going on, and it's made games much more stressful than they had to be. Now it's like you make a mistake in the early game, it's even more consequential than the seasons that happened before. As it says right on screen, we're looking to polish up the changes we shipped with Season 1 while also modernizing some non-gameplay systems. On the gameplay side, Atakhan's forms will be consolidated into a single new one. Thornbound will be slowing down the pace of objectives in the game by only spawning grubs once, with some bonus changes to the Rift Herald, and we're continuing to tweak bounties to make extra sure they only appear on a team that's already winning. I think we can all agree, Atakhan was not a very good addition to the game, not in its current form at least. Let's first address the elephant in the room, that is Voracious Atakhan. Voracious Atakhan has been notoriously problematic, not even in the context of pro play, but just as a concept. Because if you remember when I reacted to the changes initially, I'm like, there is no way that they're giving everyone a global GA, however temporary. I know it lasted only like 2.5 minutes, but there is no way they're essentially giving people the ability to throw themselves at the enemy team with no regard for their life and not have to nerf it or even just like prevent it from happening in the game altogether. With respect to solo queue, you don't really see Voracious Atakhan too much anymore because they effectively made it impossible for it to spawn. Like, in order for Voracious Atakhan to spawn, it has to be about like less than 10 kills in 20 minutes, which is just never gonna happen, right? It's solo queue. But in pro play, it keeps happening because everyone's playing a lot more conservatively, and teams are actually trying not to interact with each other in pro play so they can spawn Voracious Atakhan. But then Voracious Atakhan gives you such a powerful mid-game lead, because think about it, it's kind of like the Chem Soul Drake, or the Chem Drake Soul, if you remember, where you like turn into a zombie. That's what it does. If you can have a 1k gold shutdown and run into the enemy team, die, and not get shut down. Champions that rely on reset mechanics like Katarina, Viego, Bel'Veth, Samira, Pyke, they don't get the reset mechanics either because it doesn't qualify as a kill. So yeah, Atakhan's been the most problematic aspect of the Rift as a neutral objective. And even on the other side of the spectrum, Ruinous Atakhan was way too stat checky, in the sense that when you got the Bloody Petals or the Blood Roses, you'd have such a huge gold and adaptive force lead on the enemy team, because like everyone got 2 longswords at 700 gold split across every single champion. Then yeah, we're talking 3,500 gold from a single objective. And then of course amplifying the effects of objectives like any kind of dragons you get, any kind of grubs you get. Just, you could stack up a huge advantage by securing Atakhan into the mid game, that both versions of them have been sort of, the losing team is screwed, like there's nothing you can do. I haven't seen this many games end in like a total snowball by 25 minutes because people just really can't do anything about it. There's just too much of a stat lead you accumulate. It is a nice objective to have, don't get me wrong, it's better than a no objective, but in the condition it was implemented, they need to fine-tune it a little bit more. So obviously in the trailer we saw LeBlanc's Gambit, she captured Atakhan, and then now Atakhan is something else. The version of Spirit Blossom Rift, which by the way, excellent job on the visuals, Riot. I think this is really nice. It's like, I'm glad that they're making the Rift different every single year, because we haven't had the Winter Rift in a while, and they also made Rift skins illegal, or like the bannable events because of Vanguard and stuff. But now they've taken matters into their own hands to actually add more themes to the Rift. Maybe in the future we'll see like a futuristic Rift, who knows? Or if we ever go into Freljord, the Winter Rift will come back, but in a more modernized fashion. As I say, we heard your feedback around Voracious Atakhan, and we agree. It's been challenging to balance Voracious Atakhan's reward in a way that feels satisfying and fair, as well as getting a reasonable mix of Voracious and Ruinous and Pro. Additionally, we thought that a single form will pull back on some of the complexity we added in Season 1 through 2 separate Atakhan forms. We also saw an opportunity to evolve Ruinous Atakhan in a way that ties into the current narrative. So let us know what you think. Just like in Season 1, Atakhan will spawn either in the top or bottom side of the map. He will still spawn Bloody Roses near where kills have happened and around his own pit. That being said, killing Thornbound Atakhan will grant a new reward. The team who slays Atakhan gets any remaining Bloody Roses on the map immediately, along with a bonus, and then all their Bloody Petals are purified into Spirit Petals, which grants 25% increase effect. When they say 25, are they talking about the objective bonus, or are they talking about the effect of the Bloody Petals? Secondly, they're also rewarded with the Spiritual Purification buff for the rest of the game. This means that on takedown, they bless the area, slowing and damaging other enemies, as well as granting their team a Spirit Petal. There's a reason why Lissandra is such a dangerous champion in teamfights, because every single person you kill will ultra slow the rest of the members of the enemy team, which makes it hard for them to do anything, which makes it easy for us to continue killing them. How strong are we talking about, like, the slowing and damaging area? More importantly, how big is it? Like, is it an Iceborne Gauntlet size? You know, how much damage we're talking about? The damage I don't think is really that much of a problem because there's already so much damage to begin with. But the slowing effect, I think, is concerning. If a fight breaks out and then one team decides the situation has turned against them, they could cut their losses and abandon 2 of their teammates for the other 3 to escape. But if the person dies, then now everyone could be trapped. So are we talking like a 10% slow, or are we talking a, you know, like a malignance circle, or are we talking something bigger like let's say a karma Q, like empowered Q explosion? What are we talking about? Now I might need to actually check the video. Yeah, give me a sec. Like, alright, so this is a PBE because we're on the new Rift and they're showing game. Okay, there it is. So I think that's what that is. Like the right over here, you kill them and it's like a Crypt Bloom effect. How much damage was that? Okay, I'm watching Evelyn because... Okay, 1. Alright, let's go ahead and frame by frame. Still no damage. Come on, a little more. Okay, no. Alright, no. That's Yasuo's auto attack. Okay, no. That was Yasuo's attack in tandem with the explosion. I'm like, oh my goodness, that attack did 25% of Evelyn's health. Okay, regardless. That's a big area. It's a very, very big area. I'm just gonna assume, alright, let's see how slow Evelyn is. Well, it happens too quickly, like I need to see how big the slow is. But point being, that's a big explosion. That's a very big explosion. And if the damage is corresponding to it, you know, if it actually does a decent amount of damage, then that could be really, really consequential, especially because it's permanent, right? Every single fight you're in, if even one person dies, it could slow down the momentum of the entire rest of the team. I don't really think I'm a fan of permanent objectives. Might be a hot take. I think the main reason the game is so snowbally and problematic is because if you forfeit an objective or if you lose an objective, that is a permanent disadvantage to the rest of your team. It was within measurable limits before, because like with dragons, you would only get like, you know, a little bit of attack damage, a little bit of armor, a little bit of speed, so on and so forth. And the only real permanent consequence was the Dragon Soul, which would only happen towards the end of the game, where by then one team probably already had a compelling advantage. Then over time though, they started adding things like Void Grubs, and they started adding things like beats and whatnot, and then Atakhan's also a permanent buff. I don't think the fact that it's permanent is good for the game, because it offers even less of a reason for people to continue playing if those continue to accumulate, right? If Atakhan was a, like just like Baron buff or just like Elder Dragon buff, where the buff lasted for, you know, 5 minutes or 3 minutes or however long they wanted to last, then that would be like, okay, the enemy team that doesn't have the buff, be like, alright, we're in a little bit of trouble, but hopefully we can stop the bleeding, we can hold down the line a bit and wait for the buff to expire. But you don't get that option with Atakhan because it happens forever. And something like this, yeah, the 25% bonuses given from Ruinous Atakhan as it was in Noxus was okay, right? Like it only mattered a lot when you were, you know, you had a lot of objectives. If you had all the Void Grubs, if you had Rift Herald, if you had 4 Drakes, if you had Soul, stuff like that. This one, on the other hand, has a fixed value. It's an AoE slow, about the size of like a Crypt Bloom. And when you look at it, like it makes things very difficult for people to escape from, like, you know, they're being pursued, and that's important to have. Not to say like the winning team shouldn't have the opportunity. Actually, I think I just saw Lilia die here, right? Oh no, that was ally Lilia. Anyways, the enemy team should have the opportunity to escape, but if you look at how big that slow is, look at Evelyn. Look how heavy that slow is. So if a team gets wiped, or if one person dies, the entire team is at a disadvantage, and now you just have to like pray that you can get through or get away from like using a dash or something like that. I know I'm like harping on this for a long time and spending a lot of time on this. It's just that when I look at this, I think to myself, like, this could just be even more detrimental. Like this is a Dragon Soul. That's the equivalent of a Dragon Soul, but it spawns at 20 minutes. Because, like, realistically, this is better than Hextech Soul, or not really, but it's about equivalent to Hextech Soul and like the AoE slow in terms of size and strength. It's gonna get nerfed again. I can feel it. It's gonna get nerfed again. I'm not gonna knock it till we try it. We're gonna wait until it actually gets shipped to the live servers and we have a couple months of it. But this is also really strong. I hope it's... I really don't think it should be permanent. That's like the main thing. If it was like a 3-minute buff or whatever, then I think that's tolerable. And like, you know, Atakhan spawns every so often. But if it's permanent, then that could be really, really strong. Some teams, you just physically cannot do anything if it happens, because they'll just chase you down forever. But anyways, we're gonna skip Atakhan for now, or we're gonna finish with Atakhan for now. My final thoughts on this, my final first impressions. I don't think it's better or worse than the existing Atakhan, but I think it might actually be worse, especially now that you still get the attack strength and experience and whatnot, but you also get this huge game-changing power that gets tacked on to whatever game-changing powers you can have. Like, imagine Atakhan plus Dragon Soul plus Baron buff. Like, even if the enemy team is full of hyper late game scalers, you just cannot deal with this kind of thing. But regardless, let's move on to Void objective pacing. So TLDR, they're making Void Grubs 3 instead of 6, so before you could take out Void Grubs twice, now you can only take it once. The reason why they did that was because, as stated right here, throughout Season 1 we've heard feedback that neutral objectives have become too demanding, especially in the early to mid game. The frequency and degree of which you need to think about epic monsters is too high for healthy game pacing, lane phases, and game-to-game variety. I agree. Even though I play a lot of early game champions like Pantheon and Renekton, I do not like how right out the gate you have to start thinking about all this stuff. Like, you can't just have a nice chill laning phase, just farm it out, you know, maybe get a solo kill here or there. Like, within 5 minutes you have to be ready to rotate or respond or join your enemy team or establish priority. Like, you gotta do so many things that the micromanaging starts to become very mentally taxing. I agree that the neutral objectives have become attention grabby in a detrimental way, but I actually did like that Void Grubs spawned twice. It split equity between the top and bot lane because Dragon and Void Grubs are both equally important. I've seen junglers prioritize Void Grubs because, let's say we have a Tryndamere or a Jax or a Fiora top lane on our team, and I've seen junglers prioritize Dragon because it was a good Dragon Soul, right? The reason the stress of pursuing objectives is so high is because of the feat of strength. I don't think people really care too much about there being multiple things to look after insofar as feats are concerned, because after the first 3 kills, the first 3 objectives is the most straightforward one to go after, because the first tower you can't really expect to take until like 10 minutes or so. But objectives, you can begin working on it right away. Again, I'm not going to knock it until I try it. I think there could be an opportunity to maybe lighten the load on the game a bit, because I do think junglers, you know, I'm trying to throw them a bone. Junglers are feeling the pressure of, you know, they're feeling the pressure of having to perform very quickly and just not waste a single minute. And having 2 Void Grubs or 2 rounds of Void Grubs could exacerbate that. Same goes for the laners, because again, the laners are expected to help out the jungler, since if the jungler tries to do it themselves, then they could be in a lot of trouble if they get collapsed on. A quieter top lane can work for or against the top laner, because if it's a quiet top lane, that gives the top laner time to scale and get stuff done. But on the other hand, if it's a quiet top lane, the jungler might not want to come top anymore, and then therefore if we're pushed into a bad position, then it could be, you know, it could just be a death knell for us. I was gonna suggest maybe we could do something more contingent to Rifttrail, where instead of Void Grubs being something you take just to take, it could be more of a cumulative effect, where, let's say, Void Grubs work towards a stronger Rifttrail. I mean, they do, but Void Grubs work towards a stronger Rifttrail and into like a stronger Baron, something like that, just to make it so you still want to prioritize top lane to an extent, or top lane objectives, but you also don't want it to be like it is now, where if you ignore them, or if you try not to think about it too much, then you basically lose as a jungler. You know, this is more just like they're trying to just tone things back a bit. It's not too much to look into, but I do like the Void Grubs. I think they were great to implement. In that case, maybe why not just like not spawn Rift Herald then? Like make it so if you don't take 6 Void Grubs, then the Rift Herald never spawns. Or if like both the double Void Grub groups never get taken, then the Rift Herald never spawns, because that might be why there's so much congestion with objectives, because there's just too much to look into. But if they had summoning conditions to where if the Void Grubs were ignored, there would be no Rift Herald, then that could alleviate things too a bit. But anyways, last thing we're going to talk about, or last major thing we're going to talk about, is bounty changes. We're also going to be retuning the bounty system by suppressing champion bounties, unless we're confident your team is winning. I think we can all agree that nothing is more tilting than having a shutdown when your team is 5k gold behind. Like, you know, if you're like the one player on your team was like 14-4 and you have a 500 gold shutdown, like what the hell, your team is down 7k gold. You should not be having a shutdown because you're the only reason your team's still in the game. As it says, we believe that champion bounties should only be present when they're clearly helping a losing team come back. Though the underlying drivers aren't changing, bounties won't give out any bonus gold now unless you're clearly on the winning team. And it's easy to determine who's on the winning team, like because they keep track of, let's say, objectives, they keep track of gold per champion, they keep track of experience disparity, things like that. Yeah, it's like to show this in action, if you're the 5-0 Orianna on the losing team, your fight opponents aren't punching above their weight fighting it. They're virtually guaranteed to claim your shutdown gold in a future team fight. This will make your comeback as Orianna even more difficult. Precisely. Like, even though you're 5-0, statistically your team is much more likely to secure your bounty than you are theirs. So the way bounties are calibrated, you get punished for being the person who's 1v9ing, which you obviously don't want it to happen. Just overall, they're making it so bounties don't accumulate randomly, and I hope that also means they don't accumulate bounties on people who are like AFK farming. Like if you're the top laner and you go 0-0-0 for 20 minutes and you rack up a lot of CS, you could get like 150 gold shutdown on yourself without even trying. So I hope they take that away, because that just should not exist in the game period. It's just pointless and it's not productive. So yeah, I think that's a change that everyone is more or less okay with. They talk about a few other things like quality of life, like role swapping and position binding, as well as anti-lane swapping, but anti-lane swapping is more for pro play. You don't really see it in solo queue. Death screen is also interesting. Another visual thing. You can like kind of follow another champion and see how they're doing, but you could already do that. Like you could just press F1 through F4 and take care of that, but it's alright. So as far as gameplay is concerned, that seems to be the bulk of the changes, is that they're changing the Rift a bit, they're changing around Atakhan, and then they're also taking away one thing of Void Grubs, as well as making bounties a bit more tolerable or a bit more fair. The main thing, of course, is Atakhan. Again, I have a high feeling that they're gonna nerf either the radius, the damage, the slow, or all of the above. I think the combat pressure you get in a team fight with something like this is pretty staggering, and well, you know, it's consequential. It should be consequential. It's an objective. But Atakhan's not necessarily a challenge to get. It's not like Baron, where you need a decent amount of manpower advantage or time to take it. Atakhan, yes, Atakhan's got a huge health bar, right? Like it's like 15k health, and Atakhan can actually do a lot of damage to you, because not only does he do a lot of percent health damage, but he shreds your resistances. So if you take a long time to kill it and the enemy team collapses, then you can do a lot more damage. That being said, Atakhan is still an easy objective to take, because Ruinous Atakhan in particular doesn't do any damage to you if you're, you know, if you walk away from like the bullets it fires and then stand in the middle, because the rings are meant to damage the champions away from Atakhan. Regardless, probably the biggest thing about this objective that could make it more tolerable for people is if it wasn't permanent, like if it respawned every 8 minutes or so. It's because it's permanent that losing it hurts so much, and something like this, specifically this effect, like the Crypt Bloom type AoE slow and damage effect, would be so painful because you have to deal with it for the entire rest of the game, and people just don't want to have to think about that. Void objective pacing? You know, removing one pack of Void Grubs altogether, it shouldn't really do that much of a difference to you, but it's just, I feel like, again, they added them in the first place so that top lane and bot lane have equal equity, so like the jungler would not be punished for prioritizing one or the other. Removing this will have the positive effect of no longer making the game as stressful right from the get-go, but then that disparity will come back. So I don't know if it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, or if it's like, you know, maybe there's a way we can calibrate it. But anyways, kind of like smaller changes. It's not really a full season change like we would see at the first or at the beginning of the season, but still meaningful nonetheless, and I'm hoping that this makes the game a little bit more enjoyable somehow. I don't know how, but yeah, the game is just, I don't know, like the current state of League is so, I really don't know. It's like I'm a pretty optimistic person as far as like gameplay future is concerned, but for the first time in a long time, or I think like for the first time ever, I'm just not really sure where they want to go with this. The game has started to lose a lot of direction, and compared to, you know, season 8, 9, 10, where it felt like they were developing something progressively over time, now it just feels like they're adding things and then just hoping it works, which is not a problem per se. It's better than no change, and again, I really enjoy the visuals, but let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this, if you think I might be looking too deep into it, or if you think it might actually make for a more fresh experience, because some people think Atakhan's a lame objective to get that you only get if there's nothing else to do, and other people think Atakhan actually matters. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but for now, if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be much appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and check out, yeah, I'm gonna look this, yeah, so check out any of the videos here if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon in the next one. Take care.